I was born in 1971 in Baltimore City. I grew up in Edmondson Village. I went to Mary Rodman School 204. It was like the student body was literally 100% black. There was nobody there who was not black. The teaching staff, there were two white teachers, and all the rest of the teachers were black. And so I went through school in the 70s and early 80s in this very, 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 very like cocoon of blackness. I mean, it was just this wonderful sort of very, very black environment where the attitude was kind of like people just gave their lives for you to have these opportunities. And so you kind of owe it to your community and to history and to the people who died fighting for you to be able to sort of be all that you can be. So I didn't go to school around anybody who was not black until middle school. I've been doing a lot of work in understanding the stages of racial development of children. So the developmental science shows us that even infants see race and have the preference towards people who look more like their primary caregivers. And keeping in mind that 80% of American teachers in America, 80% are white, whereas like 54% of students are students of color. So there's a big disconnect between these white teachers and the black and brown students who they serve. And kids are really watching all of these things and they're trying to make sense of these things. And it's only when we really have conversations with kids about race and about stereotypes and about systemic racism and about why we are where we are as a country. For me, why is always the key question. And if we all just keep asking why, we'll get there, and we have to teach our kids to ask why. So when someone says, oh, black neighborhoods tend to have far lower property values than white neighborhoods, well, why? My hope is that if more kids are privy to these intense analytical conversations about race from an early age and feel comfortable being able to talk about race and ask questions about race and talk about stereotypes, my hope is that we will have also fewer people of color with self-hatred, and which also that self-hatred leads to so much violence in our communities because we're not taught why we are in the circumstance that we're in. And without that information, we, especially BIPOC folks in this country, black and indigenous people of color, end up with this idea that we are less than some way, or we are ignorant, or we're not capable. We get it's the self-hatred that becomes very ingrained when we don't know our own stories. My message to any kid who is othered, any kid who is outside of the tiny little box of being heterosexual, cisgender, white, male, Christian, demand that you learn about your own history. Demand that you have classroom conversations about your culture as it fits into whatever the thing is that you're reading, that you're talking about, that you're researching. Your history matters too. Knowledge is power. And if your school isn't teaching you about you, demand that they do that.